He claimed to be the second coming. His followers worshipped him like a messiah. But beneath the surface of this self-declared prophet was a manipulative man whose ideas of revolution were written in blood. The name Charles Manson still sends chills through America's spine, but what if the full truth was never told? Was he truly a lone madman or a puppet in a darker game of mind control, drugs, and wartime experiments? This is the story you were never supposed to hear.
Charles Manson wasn't born a monster. He was born in 1934 to a teenage girl who struggled with poverty and instability. Juvenile detention became his second home. By the time he reached adulthood, he'd spent more time in prison than out. But something changed behind bars. Manson began to study psychology, manipulation, and crowd control. He didn't just want freedom, he wanted influence. It was in prison that he learned the tools of a cult leader. From Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People to Scientology's mind conditioning routines, Manson absorbed it all. When he was released in 1967, the summer of love was blooming, the perfect soil for a new kind of chaos to take root.
In the outskirts of Los Angeles, Manson found his kingdom, a crumbling movie ranch called Spawn. Abandoned, forgotten, and surrounded by wilderness, it became home to the so-called Manson family. Here, away from the world's eyes, he formed a group that didn't question, they obeyed. Manson preached of a coming race war he called Helter Skelter, drawing inspiration from the Beatles' White Album. He claimed he was the chosen one, guiding his followers to survive the chaos. Through LSD, music, and manipulation, he rewired minds and erased identities. The family was no longer a group. It was a weapon.
Then came the killings. In August 1969, chaos erupted. But here's what they won't tell you. Manson never physically killed anyone. He sent others. His orders were cryptic, his intentions masked as prophecy. Victims were stabbed dozens of times. Words were written in blood. The media fixated on the horror, but missed the question, why? Officially, it was to ignite a race war. But some believe the murders were messages, coded symbols aimed at powerful forces, Hollywood elites, government informants, even former cult members. Who was being silenced and why?
Here's where the story twists further. Declassified files later revealed secret CIA mind control experiments known as MK Ultra. Conducted in prisons and universities, they tested LSD and psychological conditioning on vulnerable individuals. Manson had been in those very prisons. Could Charles Manson have been a test subject? Was the Manson family the result of a failed or successful experiment in mind control? Some insiders believe Spawn Ranch was more than just a commune. It was a psychological lab cloaked in chaos. The trial was a circus. Manson carved an X into his forehead, later turning it into a swastika. His followers stood outside the courtroom like sentinels. But behind the theater, documents disappeared, testimonies changed. What should have been a simple prosecution turned into a global obsession. To this day, many believe the full story was buried, classified, redacted, and forgotten. Was Manson a madman, or was he made into one?
Charles Manson died in prison in 2017, but his name still echoes like a curse. Not because of what he did, but because of what we may never know. Who gave him the tools? Who pulled the strings from the shadows? History wrote him off as evil, but perhaps the true darkness lies not in Manson himself, but in the hands that shaped him.
But here's where the fog thickens. Charles Manson died in 2017, but the shadows he cast haven't disappeared. Why did so many seemingly sane people obey his every word? Were they just victims of a manipulative psychopath? Or was Manson himself a pawn in a much deeper operation? Some still believe his trial was rigged, his image carefully crafted by media and government forces to bury something darker. Could the Helter Skelter narrative have been a smokescreen? Were there connections to covert MK Ultra experiments, or even to Hollywood's secret underbelly? We may never know the full truth, but one thing's for sure. The Manson story isn't just about a madman. It's about how society can create monsters. So here's the real question. Was Charles Manson a mastermind of evil, or a man made into a myth by forces we still don't understand? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was he the puppet or the puppeteer? Let's hear what you think.